Living with the new Sako S20, and our hunting world, is it shrinking and changing? We catch up with professional deer manager Paul Childerley facing coronavirus cancellations, and on a lighter note he performs a Strapondeggtomy as part of a peer-reviewed scientific study.
No, not even touched it. I didn't even feel it in my shoulder, honestly. Let's do it sideways.
Corona may be hogging the headlines, but I'm still on a mission to find out about lead alternatives. Tungsten versus bismuth versus steel. I visited a big hole in the ground. Plus, we hold up our ballistic barometer at this very odd time in all our lives. News editor Ben O'Rourke talks to UK gun shops to get a slice of reality from the guys on the ground. We have news, we have hunting YouTube. Welcome to Field Sports Britain. Last month, Paul was unboxing the new Sako S20, the first in the country. There was obviously no point reviewing there and then. It needed to be used properly. We agreed to catch up after a few weeks, so here we are. The S20 in 243 has now had a couple of hundred rounds through it, and Paul and his clients have shot more than 80 deer.
Good chance today that we might get one because they won't run away from David's poor stalking skills.
But the world is a very different place. Coronavirus has seen to that.
Quite a few animals on the ground then, Paul.
Yep, it's been 2 exceptional breeding years, and then we get to February, March, and that's our main culling time, so we'll take out probably 80%, 70% of sort of like what we have to take out through the season then, basically 6-7 days a week on it. But obviously with this coronavirus, it's put a bit of a mockers on the cull, because I had a lot of guys coming in from abroad, quite a few English guys, but they're still coming at the moment. But basically all the foreign clients have cancelled. Yeah, we need to shoot deer and make a bit of money from the deer, which pays for the upkeep of whether it's vehicles or staff or rifles or whatever else it is, rent and insurance and so on and so on. I can list a lot of bills. Obviously now the restaurants are not open or not taking customers. Venison sales are down, so there'll be a bit of a glut of venison. Already my game dealer said to me about the venison, fallow venison yesterday, that he's not taking any more because he takes a lot to Belgium, to France. Basically the borders are shut, so he can't transport across to there anymore. A couple of other game dealers I know do not really want any more, so they're telling a lot of their normal guys that bring a lot of venison in to lay off, stop, unless they really have to.
So a huge drop-off in clients means that Paul needs to get on top of some deer by himself. There needs to be a balance between land use and grazing impact. Before we start hunting, let's have some fun and hear what Paul thinks about the new Sako.
Any new rifles, I won't use it with clients, but it's been quite good to use it just to get a bit of feedback, see what they think, see what the bolt's like. They've always, all of them said, the bolt system's really good. They all said it's really comfortable. A couple of them said it was heavy. The thing is with the heavy rifle, this is what I find anyway. There's a work on here, but you get. Perhaps we should need to rehearse this first, David. No, with a heavy rifle, you tend to find a lot of them are nose heavy. You see this. That's without rehearsing, so quite good. So you'll find a lot of the heavy rifles are, like I say, nose heavy, so as soon as you put them there, you'll be like putting them right back here to balance them out, because they got so much weight in the barrel and in the muzzle end. Whereas this, like I say, it's a really well balanced rifle, and that's why it's good for like freehand shooting and off the sticks. Get him?
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I'll do another one. Probably the balance and the recoil is probably the two sort of like best features, and the crisp trigger pull as well. It's a very comfortable trigger. So those three things then. So yeah. So I keep saying how well this rifle soaks up the recoil, and after a little bit of a joke with David, he's brought his best, finest eggs from home. I think we've got a duck. Is this a duck egg?
No, it's not actually.
Oh, what are those rock chicken eggs? I'm just testing the shell. I'm trying to get one that's nice and hard, because what we're going to do is tape this on the recoil butt of the S20. I'm going to do it this way, because if you do it this way, obviously it's weaker.
No.
Yes, yeah. We'll start this way. We'll do one this way. I'll obviously shoot it off the sticks, so there's no bipod holding it or anything. And just to see how much the recoil the S20 soaks up. And I know it's going to be a whole leg at the end. Perfect. Wow.
Keep it if it works.
Yeah, boiled egg for dinner. Fingers crossed anyway.
Not too much tape.
No, I've got to hold it on there.
Reinforcement.
No.
That's 2 layers.
No, it's the top and the bottom, the sides, not the... There.
If Norris McWhirter was here.
There. Right, come on, let's get this job done.
Oh God, I've got to set some cameras up.
I'm going to get some more... This is my best coat. Right, egg challenge, take 1. I'm putting it right into the shoulder as well, so it's not like...
Really?
Yeah. No, not even touched it. I didn't even feel it in my shoulder, honestly. Let's do it sideways. Oh, that's how.
I wasn't ready for that.
That's how gentle they are. Wow.
Paul is confident that the egg, whatever the orientation, will survive.
Into the shoulder, so it's not away from the shoulder. I know what you lot are like. Okay, here we go. No problem. I know it's not even touching my shoulder. Honestly. Well, that proves it, I think.
Yeah, brilliantly scientific. Let's try a bigger rifle.
Okay. We've got 308. Let's try the 308, shall we?
The only other rifles he has in his cabinet are the Sako Carbon Light, again in 243, and this Remington in 308.
Yes, that definitely crushed that egg. I didn't think it was going to do that. Naivety.
Who would have thought? Maybe this is going to become an industry standard.
Yes, eggy. Eggnog. Ah, there you go.
When a rifle looks like this, it would be a bit embarrassing if it didn't smash it.
After the last one, see how easy it was to break it. Fingers crossed. God, I'll put a bit higher this time.
It's another mouthful, do you?
Here we go. Yeah, close your mouth. Okay, into the shoulder tight.
The Carbon Light also has the lightest of touches, and another egg survives. So the S20 has balance and low recoil. Let's see it in the field. Of course, Paul is not just a deer manager, he also runs a shoot. The game season is many months away. However, the conversations Paul has been having suggest the number of birds reaching a release pen near you may be down because of restricted movement across borders.
It's obviously come after the game season, but everyone forgets it's now springtime is a time where it all starts again. You had the month off in February to clear up, get things away and sorted, and then March time, all the game farmers and all the game rearers, they're on it again. They're already planning. Egg production's already in full swing. and then you've got the flip side of the guys that buy in from France, chicks or eggs or poults to supply the shoots out there. So it's a bit of a concern, you know.
This is it, you know, it's ever evolving. I mean, this is going to go out tomorrow evening.
Yeah.
Things might change tomorrow. You just
exactly.
Just don't know.
You don't know, and you know, you just got to. It's, you know, end of the day, if you got your health, you got everything. So it's not the end of the world. You just keep going and keep you know, run with the shots.
So when you're greeting your clients, then what are you doing? The ankle rub? Are you doing a bit of an elbow?
Just a hey, hey. Just a.
After some close calls, we finally have a suitable young buck in the crosshairs.
Young buck. Shot a young buck, got a bit of hair missing on the back of his neck. If you see, he's a lot smaller than the other ones. It's interesting to see how the does lead him off. Doe went over top the hill that way, and does went back that way. Just led him. Perfect animal to take, young buck. Probably a June buck. It's a little bit later, hence his size. Since his tusks are a little bit smaller than they should be this time of year. Should be a little bit more showing. Got a little bit of hair missing them. It's just starting to molt. See this one here, it's got a couple of open bits where he's either gone through a hedge, getting to end of March, and now the molt's sort of like coming on. So yeah, perfect one to take, good eating. Right, we'll get back to the larder.
We came to see Paul to talk about a new Sako rifle, but there is now so much other stuff to talk about too. Who knows what we'll be discussing next time. In the meantime, if anyone wants to stalk a Chinese water deer at Paul's, he's doing some competitive package deals before the end of the month. You may need the meat. If you're interested, email him, paul@childerleysporting.co.uk, and you might even get the chance to shoot the only Sako S20 in the country. And if you want more technical info about the rifle, go to sako.fi. Thank you, Paul. Maybe we should have kept that one for Easter. Now I hope you've got over all the excitement and are ready for the ever enigmatic David on the Field Sports channel, News Stump.
This is Field Sports Channel News. 4 shooting organisations have joined forces to fight wild justice. The wildlife group requested a judicial review against UK Environment Department DEFRA on the legality of game bird releases in certain areas. Basque Countryside Alliance, Game Farmers Association and the National Gamekeepers Organisation have applied to become interested parties in the proceedings. Wild Justice claims that releasing birds could damage a European protected site and that no game bird releasing should be allowed unless there's an assessment of the potential impact on the area. Basque says the case has direct consequences for thousands of its members and supporters, and Wild Justice is endangering the very wildlife and environment which they claim to be interested in protecting. This weekend's West of England Game Fair has been cancelled. Organisers said that following UK government advice about social distancing, they decided to call off the event. Disappointed followers on Facebook said they made the right decision. The organisers added they were waiting for government advice as to what happens next. As this programme goes out, the organisers of the Essex Masters, the traditional opener of the UK clay shooting season, says its event will go ahead next week. The hunting office has halted trail hunting because of coronavirus. Director Tim Easby says hunt meets will cease for the remainder of the season. He adds it will not be a popular decision, but hunting cannot be seen to carry on when other social, cultural and sporting activities have been cancelled. The French Société de Verrerie has made the same decision. The Northern Shooting Show has also been postponed. Organisers say the decision comes after the government announced that mass gatherings would not be supported by the emergency services. The event in May has been pushed back to the 28th and 29th of August. Tickets for May will still be valid for the new dates. Dog owners have been told to make sure that animals behave in the New Forest. Forestry England and Hampshire Police issued the warning after reports of dogs chasing and harassing deer, in some cases injuring them. Bournemouth Daily Echo says that even deer witnessing attacks can die from shock. Forestry Chief William Wolseley has called for culls to protect Britain's trees. He told The Times rabbits, hares and other animals should be shot to help tree planting, adding that grey squirrels should be renamed tree rats so people see them as pests instead of cute, fluffy animals. Worsley's interview followed Prime Minister Boris Johnson's promise in November to boost tree planting over the next 5 years. He said Johnson's plans would not work without widespread culls. Barratt Homes is paying £400,000 to rehome 10 songbirds. The developer was sent the bill after a plan for 187 homes near Paignton in Devon was approved. Part of the deal was the company's pledge to pay £437,500 to find new homes for 5 pairs of Searle buntings. Wild boar in the Forest of Dean are looking for domestic pleasures. According to conservation charity The Boring Truth, they're now wandering into villages seeking food after losing their fear of humans. The group blames wildlife photographers, accusing them of feeding and taming the animals so they can get good shots. Now the animals see humans as a source of food, which has led to complaints from locals. Forestry England says that feeding wild boar is both illegal and bad for their health. A South Tyneside man has been in court for keeping a rifle cartridge on his mantelpiece because it looked cool. 31-year-old Robert Marley avoided 5 years in prison after convincing magistrates at South Tyneside Magistrates Court that he had no malicious intentions. The unemployed man was told the item posed more danger to him than anyone else because of where he put it. Marley said he found the cartridge 8 years ago among possessions left behind by an old flatmate. He was given a 6-month conditional discharge and ordered to pay £40 court costs and £21 victim surcharge. Salmon farmers are taking a battering from travel bans. Prices of the fish have tumbled, with Norwegian salmon producer Mowi leading the decline. Its shares on the Oslo and Santiago Stock Exchange plummeted, one of the largest single-day drops in 30 years, according to Instrafish website. Analysts say demand for Norwegian farmed salmon may decline in the US in the wake of a travel ban from Europe. A spokesperson for the Scottish Salmon Producers Organisation told the website the situation is likely to get worse. US-based Safari Club International is warning hunters about custom restrictions. Anti-coronavirus measures means US citizens should reconsider travel abroad after 27 Americans were quarantined in Argentina. It said South Africa had also cancelled visas for US nationals and other countries affected by COVID-19. The organisation said SCI members should check with the US State Department before making travel plans. Rat farmers in China are also suffering as a consequence of the pandemic. Bloomberg says authorities are cracking down on the industry, which they originally encouraged to ease poverty. Beijing has banned trading wild animals to try to control the coronavirus outbreak, but this could destroy the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of rat farmers. Rat farming requires little investment and yields quick profits, as the animals eat bamboo and sugarcane and don't need much space to breed. A rat can produce up to 2 kilos of meat, which can be stewed, used in soups or barbecued. 2 Swedish farmers have spotted a massive wolf. Sanna Andersson says she and her husband were visited by the wolf, which came as close as 50 metres from them while they were out walking their dog. Sanna called the animal something out of the ordinary. Thanks to Per Holmseth for the story. An Australian gun shop has been denied credit by one of the country's biggest banks. The National Australian Bank has decided to close business banking accounts and credit facilities linked to firearms, even though they're legally operated businesses. NAB sent a notice of accounts and services closure letter to Queensland dealer Smithy's Guns and Ammo. The closure follows similar situations with other Australian banks. A study has shown that domestic cats are up to 10 times deadlier than wild predators of a similar size. Cats generally hunt within 100 metres of their homes, so the effect on wildlife is highly concentrated, according to research published on ZSL Animal Conservation website. Researchers from North Carolina State University and North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences monitored GPS data from nearly 1,000 pet cats, while their owners reported how many animals they took home. Professor Roland Kays, who led the research, says cats in North America kill from 10 to 30 billion wildlife animals per year. And finally, from cats to dogs. A fruit-fancying coyote was caught on camera in Southern California. We know people are becoming a lot more health conscious these days, but coyotes? Well, this photo from the Santa Monica Mountains Recreation Area proves it. You are now up to date with Field Sports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. And if you want to see more news, go and have a look at the front page of our website. There's a link in the description below. Now, last week we discussed how thermal is becoming popular. Well, one company that thinks it's great is Pulsar. There is a link to Pulsar's kit in the description below. Now, if we don't shoot lead through our shotguns, what do we shoot? I have been on a short journey to look at the alternatives. If the shot in shotgun cartridges were cars, lead would be the old Land Rover Defender. Much loved, but apparently illegal. Steel is the Vauxhall Astra, gets you from A to B with some emotional damage. Bismuth is, yes, well, indefinably weird. And tungsten is the new NASA Mars rover, hard as nails but astronomically expensive. With 5 years to go before we meet the shooting organisation's ambitions to phase out both lead and single-use plastics, let's have a look at the various metals we can use to shoot birds.
The future armoury, as we can see it, doesn't leave us with many realistic options. Unfortunately, we've got various grades of tungsten matrices with polymers and all sorts in them, some harder than others, all very expensive, and none of them totally satisfactory. You have bismuth, which is notionally fine because it's softer, much softer than steel. It's more equivalent to lead. It can use without a plastic wad. It's brittle. It has to have some pretty clever work done to it to make decent shot out of it. We've had problems along the way. It's got better. Again, it's very expensive. It will be because you know, you just look on the periodic table. It's about twice as common as gold, you know, and silver is considerably more of. It's only not as expensive as those things because there's not as many things you can do with it now. But the old supply and demand, which I think works pretty well through most of the products we ever come across. The obvious one, because it's cheap, available, relatively available, and I have to qualify that because steel is becoming in shorter supply at the moment. They're having difficulty getting enough for the cartridge loaders that are doing it at the moment, and the problems in China and here and elsewhere increasingly, I guess supply of all these things is going to get harder and harder. But steel, in that it offers a cost-effective exercise, it's cheaper than lead in itself, but you do have to use some form of protective wad with it, a very good one. We've been using plastic, of course, with high density polyethylene, the HDPE, which you'll see plenty of mention of. Been serving us very well for a very long time. We know it works, but it stays around a long time. Ever since we had the drowning in plastic on the BBC, which you and all our shooting friends will recall, the spotlight went on plastic. Now the question is it lead shot that's the biggest problem or plastic? At one time, we're hit with them both.
Although they don't go into cartridges in a pure state, it's worth looking at densities. Steel is the lightest by volume, then comes bismuth, followed by lead. Tungsten is nearly twice as dense as lead. What about supply? Most bismuth is produced from mines in China, Mexico and Bolivia, usually as a byproduct of mining other metals, including that great poisoner lead. Well, the result of that extremely unscientific experiment is that the lead compacted, bismuth shattered. The hammer didn't make much impression on the steel and very little at all on the tungsten. And I certainly wouldn't like to drink this. Now, I'm at home in Somerset. I don't have to go far to find myself a tungsten mine. This is where tungsten comes from. It's the 4th largest deposit in the world, and it's on Dartmoor. Now, tungsten is a hard metal. It melts at 3,500 degrees centigrade. That's 10 times the melting point of lead. So what they do is they take the wolfram ore from here in the Dartmoor rocks, they ship it to China where it's smelted at that temperature and it's shipped back to Europe to be turned into shotgun cartridges like this one. That's expensive. It's about 2.5 times the cost of a bismuth cartridge, this little cartridge here, and it's 10 times the cost of a steel cartridge. Incidentally, this mine closed down a few years ago. Who knows, maybe the new demand for tungsten from shooting will reopen it. Now, tungsten has been used on Exmoor shoots. Here's Haggis Hartman from West Country Guns to tell us how that went.
They worked extremely well. In actual fact, a few of the guns actually preferred them over the lead, said they work better. I suppose you've got smaller shot with a heavier density than the lead. And yeah, no, they were extremely pleased with them. It was just obviously the cost factor.
How much are they?
Around about £2.70 a bang, the FOBs Varios.
That's a lot. Are you going to have some before the end of the year?
Yes, we shall keep a few in just for people to try over the coming seasons before everything does take place, which we hope doesn't take place.
What about toxicity? Are bismuth or tungsten bad for people or wildlife like lead is?
They don't crop up that much in the life of a toxicologist. I'm sure, I mean, like everything, everything is, poisonous at the end of the day. It's just the dose that's important. I'm sure that there are, unsafe doses of those substances. I couldn't tell you what they are. They've not had the attention that lead has. My guess is they're much less toxic, but I wouldn't want to say definitively.
I know that there are studies looking at exposure to those, but they're quite specific examples, and we're looking really for environmental exposure rather than studies done in the laboratory, so that's quite a different thing. I don't think that there's as much known about it as yet, but there will be.
You were about to say more research needs to be done, don't you?
As always.
I knew that. Surely that's amazing. The fact is, we will probably end up using steel, like the Danes have since the 1990s for most of our shooting. Here's a shooting writer from Denmark to explain their experience.
I shoot with Wesley Richards from 1892, a Damascus barrel. Very fine. I use it for clays, I use it for pheasants and for everything. And then I have a hammer gun, a Blanche hammer gun, which is probably 10 years older, I think. And a friend of mine who is a gunsmith, he has a Padstone hammer gun. And I don't really think he knows the age of it, but he uses it for everything. And that is maybe more than 1,000 shots a year. And there's no problem. We never had any problems. I never had any problems with that. There's no scratches in the barrels. I think bismuth is still used some places, but I think mainly it's steel now. There was a few places where some estates still wanted us to shoot bismuth because of the wood, which was going to be for some kind of special treatment in the sawmills. But the sawmills didn't really care about it. They said that a small amount of steel shots is really not a problem. We had tungsten for a period, but it was a short period, it was very expensive, and then there was some, I can't remember, there was something about tungsten, there was some microplast in the pellets, so actually I think it will be difficult to find a tungsten cartridge today.
What about those old guns? The head of shotguns at Browning has a simple rule for checking whether your gun can cope with steel shot.
So it's pretty easy. Yes, we have a solution for any type of shot shells. Basically, when you have a multi-choke barrels, from Invector to Invector DS, they are usable with steel. For the nominal bore with fixed choke, basically the barrels are not made to shoot steel, but we advise you to have a visit to your gun shop to see the thickness of the tubes, and maybe there's some alternative to place some new type of chokes. And we all know different brands who offer that service in England. Nominal bore is the tightest bore you can get.
And what's back bore?
Back bore is slightly more open. That was mainly developed for steel. So basically that will help to reduce the recoil, and also because it's a little bit more open, that will make a better pattern when you shoot steel.
And are most of your guns back bore?
Most of our guns are back bore for the European market and for the US market. And for England, due to the fiber wads, we continued to propose some nominal bore, but it's basically only for you guys. I just would like to explain that we are lucky at Browning because probably the viewer don't know, but there's two norms. There's the CIP, and I'm sure you will explain deeply what it means, and the SAMI specification, which are slightly different. They allow more pressure, they allow more speed of movement. And when we develop a shotgun under the Browning brand, we keep always the higher, the most complicated specification. So we are all SAMIs on every type of platform. So we already have one step done if the legislation change in the near future.
So it's like getting a car that is safer than the safety standard?
Yes.
Back to the question of cartridges, and the ammunition manufacturers have their work cut out if they want to meet the 5-year deadline on the phase-out of both lead and single-use plastics such as steel shot cups.
I don't know the full answer, but we don't have a satisfactory, cost-effective wad to use with steel, which is why the steel shot cartridges that we're offered at the moment are relatively expensive for steel shot. You can get pigeon cartridges with HB, the high density polyethylene wads in for £155 a thousand, cheaper than lead, but you cannot get them. You've got to put another 100 and more on just to get the same thing.
Stay up to date with the debate at fchannel/leadban.
Thank you, Browning. Thank you, Haggis, and thank you to the gun shop at Ivy Bridge for supplying some of the other cartridges in that piece. Now, coronavirus is everywhere. Our intrepid news editor Ben has been pounding the pavements to find out how gun shops are reacting.
Panic buying sparked by coronavirus has been sweeping the world, with basic products like toilet paper disappearing from supermarket shelves. Gun shops in the US are seeing queues outside, and the country's biggest distributors are running out of ammo. Some towns are considering gun bans and others suspending permit renewals and applications, fearing the worst.
It's spooky outside, man. You're lying at the gun shops, huh?
Could it happen here? Surely not.
No, if you stop a few shots.
Are you serious? Like, people are worried about food shortages?
I think we've sold a few cartridges and a few pellets and things for people like that already, yeah. People that we don't see very often, that have just come for extra things. A bit like this toilet roll thing. But I don't know if many people have thought about it. Most people are just fairly normal, but we'll see.
This shop in Pickering is small, with only a staff of 3, Rob, Colin and Indy, the working sprocker. Owner Rob is prepared to man it alone if there's a national lockdown.
It's one of those things with people that do shoot. I think it's they're worried if they don't have their gun, or if their gun isn't in good condition, maybe they might not be able to get back for it if we are all shut down, and they might need it to go and hunt and get food for themselves if they can't go to the supermarket, or if the supermarket doesn't have any food, you know.
One gun shop owner told me he had flu after returning from a trip abroad, so I haven't been to interview him. About 50 miles away in central Darlington, County Durham, business has been affected.
The town centre where we are now is very slow. There's not many people around wandering up and down. Bulk buy of ammo seems to be the next thing. I don't know why they're using it or what they're using it for. We've just been cleaned out of some cheap ammo that we keep in stock. He took the lot, all that we had, and it was luckily that he had that amount on his licence. We've never seen him before, and he'd already bypassed another gun shop, he said, a local gun shop to where he lives. He'd bypassed them because they have only got like expensive ammo, and he says he was just after lots of cheap ammo. So he cleaned us out anyway. People are still coming in and saying, have you got this, have you got this? And it's all selling very fast. Emails all the time. What ammo have you got? So I don't know if the panic is setting in for the ammunition. I don't know if they're protecting the food that they've already got or going out looking for food because all the shelves are empty round about.
We've had people that are ringing up saying they don't want to leave home, and he was very sceptical about coming, and we weren't expecting him after he said he was going to.
Yeah, he came as normal after he had a speak to us on the phone and decided that we were actually all right and we weren't ill.
Yeah, you didn't sound ill then.
Yeah, but I think that was it, yeah.
Only around 2,000 people have been infected in the UK, a country of 66.5 million. Things could be worse, says the owner of another Darlington gun shop.
If it was a 20% death rate, society would fall apart. Look at how we're behaving now. We're obscene. It's crazy, isn't it? You know, there's plenty of stuff to go around if people are sensible, but people aren't sensible. And it's all right saying it's a bit like the war and the Blitz, but it's not like the war and the Blitz, because in those days everybody realised you had to work together and share what there was in order for everybody to survive and get through it. In these days it's very much a case of I'm all right, Jack, and I don't care about anybody else. But that's just, to my mind, right through society now.
The virus scare could also mean gun licence renewals and applications are delayed, as police are limiting contact with the public, according to Basque.
Firearms licensing is going to be changed slightly, we feel, over the next few months due to the coronavirus. We'll probably find that because of the police force's responsibility to public safety, home visits will cease.
Right now it's a guessing game for anyone whose licence is about to expire, with the proposed lead ban adding to the confusion and coronavirus overshadowing everything.
We try our best to disinfect the doorknobs and what have you, but whether that's any actual benefit we don't know. At least it makes you feel better.
At the very least, the shop in central Darlington is guaranteed one visitor a day, Bob, a pigeon that drops by for a snack. Dave hopes there's no food shortage ahead, or Bob could be in trouble.
Thank you, Ben. Of course, shooting is the perfect sport for C19. Lots of shooters socially distance themselves from other people, and most of us have been self-isolating for a long time. My off licence says that for decades I've been panic buying whiskey. Let's see who else is hunting and shooting around the world. It is Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. The Air and Cartridge channel is crow shooting with the Hush Power 20 gauge and Aim Cam Pro 2. He's using the Hush Power to keep bird disturbance and complaints from nearby householders to a minimum. Our viewer Reich from the Rich Hunting channel in Holland is back after 18 months of travelling. He celebrates with this fun goose shooting film. And Lee Baragwanath sends me this from Bolt Action Productions in Australia, saying just showing that we don't have to shoot something to have a great couple of days away in the bush. Josh James Kiwi Bushman is hunting and fishing on Doubtful Sound on New Zealand's South Island. It's classic JJKB with lots of camp life chat and the whole thing stylishly in one straight timeline. Here's a pretty film about man versus stag from J.E. Wilds. Joe Flaherty is out to bow hunt the red on New Zealand's North Island. Wild Boar Fanatic in Germany is busy. He's put out this driven hunt film from Mecklenburg, and due out shortly is his more epic adventure hunting in Pakistan. Also in Germany, Dry Spross is making life easier for hunters kept at home by the virus, showing all his films for free on YouTube starting today. This is the first, called Hunting in Heideland. His films are normally only available on the Hunt on Demand pay TV channel. And finally, the first of the quarantine videos are coming out on YouTube. Here is Shots and Pots from Sweden showing how to cook venison. As he says, hunters have a huge head start in times like these when quarantine stands at the door, because most hunters have their freezers full of meat. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Well, that is it for this week. If you haven't done so already, please pop over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv, where you can click to like us on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter. You can subscribe to us on YouTube and pop your email address into our register page, and we'll contact you about this show. Field Sports Britain is at 7 PM UK time every Wednesday. Plus, you can back us. Go to the Field Sports Nation page on our website. Link in the description below. I'll see you next week. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.